We'll let it go live, but what I'll do is I'll do a bit of small talk. So we'll give everyone a few minutes to start arriving. I need to remember this is global, so we have people joining from all over the planet at all different times. So I'm not going to get into that. I am liking this software, though. I will say that.
It's fairly slick, isn't it?
It's very, very nice. There's so many different tools at the moment, and we're experimenting with lots of different ones as well. So it's refreshing, but it's also a little bit scary when you're trying to remember how everything works. Which is great. Right, for those of you just joining, we're going to give it a couple of minutes to get people in and settled, so we can kick off in about 2 minutes time before we do intros. Thank you very much for joining us. Looking forward to talking about this one. It's quite a hot topic at the moment right now. I don't know if anyone else has been down the AI rabbit hole. Duncan Cook,
I'm completely lost down the AI rabbit hole. I'm too deep in. I need pulling out, and this isn't helping.
So a little bit of a water cooler chat, but Duncan and I were talking earlier about kind of like learning styles and learning habits, and I think your tool of choice, you're quite a fan of YouTube and watching videos on YouTube, but you really like those like longer form content pieces. I was getting told off for short form content. Apparently that's not good, but that's how my brain is wired and that's how I work. Peter, what do you use?
I prefer just to read it, and occasionally I'll see a YouTube video that kind of informs what I'm reading. But I've always been a verbal thinker rather than a visual thinker.
And what about you, Hannah?
I use all of it. So I'll try to learn something on YouTube and I get impatient, so I put it on 2 times speed. Yeah. Or I'll read a document. Sometimes I'll cheat and I'll put it in ChatGPT and just ask for a summary. Sometimes I'll just start playing around. If it's a tech tool that I haven't used before, I'll try to watch a video. I get distracted and I just like to click about. So I guess experiential learning is probably the thing for me. One new thing I've been doing lately is having, and it's sort of mind-blowing, but while I've gone on neighborhood walks, just to clear my head, I've been talking to ChatGPT, explaining my thoughts. I just had this meeting. We talked about this. Here's what I'm thinking it could mean for that. And it understands a little about my business model, and it uses past solutions I found and says, oh, well, that sounds like your conversation with another person. Maybe you could think about blah, blah, blah. It's sort of mind-blowing.
That's really interesting. I would imagine this is going to come up. Let's not give too much away.
Okay.
Right. So what I'll do is I'm going to kick off. This is recorded, so the recording will be available straight after this session. But for those of you that are new with us today, my name is Sophia, but I'm also known as Puff. Everyone knows me as Puff, and I'm one of the directors here at Three-Sided Cube. And we are here today to discuss that basically the future of disaster response with artificial intelligence. Okay. And what's that got to do with Three-Sided Cube and the people on the call? Well, here at Three-Sided Cube, our mission is to change millions of lives for the better. And we do that through designing and building what we call tech for good. So technology that has a positive impact. Okay. So this space to us is really important right now. In terms of the work we do actually have quite a lot of case studies, quite a lot of live products out there in the DRR space. One of the biggest case studies out there is the work that we do with the American Red Cross for the emergency platform, and that is a suite of mobile apps that tell people what to do and where to go in case of a natural disaster. And of course, it has this whole alerting piece. And speaking really openly and honestly with everyone here today, for the past 6 to 9 months, we've been on a journey with AI. Okay, so we design and build software, and the spaces in which we operate changing massively at such an incredible pace. And we have taken the decision that we are going all in and we are going to be AI first, right? We are going to be an AI driven team to design and build tech for good. And what that is important to us because we recognize the benefits and the impact that AI could have in this space. Okay, and we recognize that the tools and the software out there today, right now, and the ones that are coming, so the ones that are a bit further down the line, could impact this space incredibly. Okay, and it could save more lives. That's important. We're here today with a panel of people. So we'll do introductions very, very shortly. But we're here today to celebrate and to launch a white paper that covers the use of AI in this space. And that white paper has some incredible case studies, some very recent case studies of the practical applications of AI and machine learning being used today. And that's what we are here to talk about today. We will be sharing this white paper post this webinar today. But a little bit of housekeeping. So for those of you that have joined, you can ask questions as we dive through this discussion today. You can just put them in the chat, and that is being monitored, and those questions will be picked up by the panelists. I'll be making sure that we answer any questions that come in. If you do have any follow-up questions that you'd like to cover off after the webinar, that's also absolutely fine, and we'll be sharing contact details right at the very end of this webinar. Right, let's get into this in a little bit more detail. So, right, this white paper, the background to it. So, Three-Sided Cube, we are a member of the Arise network. Now, for those of you that don't know, Arise is essentially it's a network of private sector companies and organizations that are committed to risk-informed development, disaster risk reduction, and preparedness actions. Okay, and the network's supported by the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. Okay. And I say we because we are part of Arise. It basically helps mobilize businesses to integrate disaster risk considerations into strategies, investments, and we're ultimately aiming to build resilient societies. Okay. Now, as being part of that network, we were given the opportunity to sit in one of the groups that happens. And there's a group called RSTAG, which you're going to hear a little bit more about from Peter. But I should say this space is filled with lots of acronyms, okay? And sometimes I think it's best just to kind of clarify what those acronyms mean. So the RSTAG group is the Regional Science and Technology Advisory Group, okay, for the Americas and Caribbean. And it's an initiative that's been established under the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. I think it started back in 2015 and it goes all the way up to 2030. And the primary goal is to enhance societal resilience by leveraging scientific understanding and technological advancements to inform disaster risk reduction policies. Okay. Now, as part of that advisory group, we were tasked with looking at different types of technologies and essentially writing a chapter to help share basically what it is, what that technology is, what it's capable of, and some real life case studies of how it's been applied and how it's used. And the white paper that I keep talking about is a result of months and months of work that has happened by a chapter of RSTAG that have looked specifically into AI. That is what we'll be talking about today. But before we do that, I'm going to hand over to our panelists to do introductions. So I'll hand over to you, Peter, because you seem prime as a chair of Arise.
Yeah, and Puff, thank you very much. I'm Peter Williams, originally from the UK, now lived in the US for 25 years. I am I was the chair of Arise US, then I got termed out in January, so now I'm the co-chair of Arise US, and I was one of the main authors of the white paper that Puff has just been referring to.
And we'll hand over to you, Hannah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Zitner. I'm the founder of Nonprofit Tech Solutions, which is a consultancy that, as the name suggests, helps nonprofits implement technology to improve their operations. For about the past 20 years, I've been tinkering with various technology tools while wearing lots of different hats. I was a journalist for a while. I worked in the private sector as a risk consultant for some years. And most recently, I've worked in the humanitarian sector, where disaster risk reduction is obviously a large part of the work that we do. So yeah, that's it for me for now.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. And Duncan. Oh, we can't hear you, Duncan.
There you go. I wanted to be the first one to not understand what the mute key does. So hello everyone, I'm Duncan, CEO of Three Sided Cube. I work alongside Puff, and I generally do whatever Puff tells me to do.
Thank you, Duncan. What an intro. Okay, so I think a good place to start might be with you, Peter, in terms of this white paper. Do you want to give us maybe like an overview of it, and maybe like we can, I guess, start to pick up like a case study or two that's come out of the white paper?
Sure. So came out of the realization that AI has incredible potential benefits for disaster risk reduction and for populations that get to experience it, and it has incredible potential downsides. And the white paper was basically an exercise in trying to figure out how you get the one without the other. The upsides, things like risk identification and so forth, risk detection, if you can call it that, because oftentimes the risk might not actually be suspected. Situational awareness. There are companies springing up now that are using AI to create real-time situational awareness apps or situational awareness collateral, so that you can begin to understand, let's say that, okay, if these are the signals off your city's water system in the aftermath of an earthquake, this is probably where the water system got broken by the earthquake, and here's how you need to prioritize the repairs. Or understanding from looking at aerial photographs, we've got a range of damaged buildings here. This is where we need to focus kind of search and rescue, excuse me, search and rescue kind of efforts. So that situational awareness piece becomes quite important. There's a lot of work going in on simulation and risk modeling. If this happens, what else is going to break? And being able to follow that through in terms of links between critical assets and so on and so forth. There's forecasting, and I'll give you an example of forecasting in a minute. Understanding the likelihood of a certain hazard happening in the next 6 months or the next year or the next 3 minutes or whatever it might be. And then there's supply chain, resource optimization, triage, that kind of thing. How do we get the material that we need to respond to this disaster to where it needs to go, given the disposition in the first place and given the incidence of damage across a given area? In other words, how do we actually manage the supply chain within that? So those are some of the potential upsides. The downsides are really extensions of things that people are going to be quite familiar with to start with. The first is bias. AI systems can potentially be biased in all kinds of ways, and to the point where you can come up with conclusions that are not necessarily reliable. Great example of that, and that bias usually comes from incomplete training data. Great example of that would be For those that know of it, the US real estate listing company Zillow, who had an AI-based approach to forecasting property prices to guide their business. And they decided that they wanted to actually start buying houses as well as just listing them. And this pricing app using AI was fed on incomplete market data. I think it only assumed that the market was likely to go up rather than down, with the result that Zillow was soon paying inflated prices for houses that were actually declining in value. And the net effect was Zillow had a massive loss that very nearly took the company down. So there's a pretty good example of bias, and you can work by extension to think what might happen, what might be the result if that sort of thing started happening in the context of responding to a disaster. There's privacy issues, which are well enough written about and spoken about in the context of AI, in terms of its ability to unite different data sources and come up with all kinds of stuff about people that people didn't realize were necessarily were out there. There's basic fragility, especially where the AI you're using is responding to is dependent upon data from sensors or something like that. The darn thing could go wrong right when you need it to work. So there's just simple fragility. There's access issues. To what extent do different societies have, or different parts of society have access to the facilities that AI might offer? That's true of any technology when it comes to it, but it seems to be particularly the case with AI. How do we make it accessible to more and more people? And then there is explicability. So many AI models, as a lot of folks will be aware, are effectively black box. And it's very difficult to understand exactly why the AI has said what it has said, without a great deal of poking around and a great deal of additional analysis. That's all very well, but when you're talking about the operation of safety critical infrastructure and the AI tells you to go and do something, let's say to a power system or a water supply system, which could quite conceivably kill somebody if you make the wrong move, that becomes a big issue. Just put it at the most extreme. Would I want to fly right now on an AI-powered aeroplane? Probably not. And it's the same kind of issues that you see with why it's recommending. Okay, send these people here, send these rescue trucks there, send these supplies over there. Well, why is it saying that? You need to. There needs to be a huge audit trail through the thing. So those are some of the upsides. Those are some of the downsides.
Sorry, Peter. Someone used the analogy. Well, they used this kind of description the other day. They said, you can use tools like ChatGPT to find out what steps to do open heart surgery, but doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. Like, you wouldn't trust your husband or your wife to do that, would you? And I think that really challenged my thinking in terms, because I have to admit, this space is moving at such a pace right now. It feels really overwhelming. And I feel scared. I feel excited. But I am testing, right? I'm testing tools and I'm testing to see kind of what is and isn't possible in the small space that I operate in. But when I hear things like that, I'm like, oh yeah, let's be real about these things,
Yeah, but I think the worry is, just as there were not entirely apocryphal stories when GPS or sat-nav was first fitted to cars, people following sat-nav instructions and driving straight into a river because the sat-nav told them to. Never underestimate human stupidity. People will actually follow what an AI is telling them to do, even when the result is actually dangerous, and it will happen. And that's the worry. Maybe it'll only happen a few times, but it would be nice if it didn't happen at all.
Fair. Okay, so in the white paper, I think there's 9 actually quite detailed case studies that are pretty recent and very relevant, but what would be one way that AI is being used in this space that's maybe surprised you, Peter? Like, are there any surprises, or is it like, I don't know, is it what you would expect right now?
It's been surprising in the sense of, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't realize you could get that from that data. I didn't realize you could extract that pattern from that data. So there's surprises in that sense. But and full disclosure, I advise this company. One of the case studies in the thing is from Climformatics, who use AI, machine learning for the most part, applied to IPCC climate models and applied to models of ocean temperature and current circulation and so forth, to enable them to predict weather 6 months and 12 months ahead, in other words, seasonal weather, with the same accuracy on any given day as the nightly weather forecast.
Which is amazing. It sounds like that sounds incredible. But what about things like, and I don't know if this is controversial to say, but climate change, and because I don't know, like, how does that?
All right. These guys sit in the intersection between weather and climate, if you like. But when it comes to forecasting seasonal risks like wildfires or hurricanes or tornadoes, even, it's a really, really big deal. Yeah. And that technology is going to save a lot of lives, a lot of wildfires, a lot of smoke, a lot of flame, a lot of property damage, and so on, because it will allow electric companies sufficient time to configure their grid and understand the risk that is upcoming. And because it's very specific, the forecasting grid that they use in the US is 4 kilometers square, which is less than about the same as a zip code. It can actually very definitely guide the prioritization of things like vegetation removal around power lines. You don't have enough money to clear the whole space. Where do you focus your effort? Yeah. So that's one example. I'm intrigued by the use of AI in situational awareness as well. Again, I would very definitely want to see. Want to understand how the tool was producing the outputs to actually, to say what it's saying. So, there's going to be explicability issues with that. But at the same time, the potential for AI to figure out some aspect of a situation that says, hey, don't do that, do this, becomes, pretty valuable, right? In the context of saving lives, saving property, speeding economic recovery.
So it's amazing because there's lots of benefits, but there does seem to, and I don't want to speak out of term here, but I also sense nervousness and people being risk averse in terms of like experimenting with AI, knowing what they should and shouldn't do. Would that be fair to say? And I don't know whether or not, Hannah, like, maybe that's a good question for you. Like, are you seeing many people experiment with this stuff right now?
Yeah, that's a super relevant question. So people are experimenting. And in fact, I mentioned the various hats I've worn. I didn't say that my most recent role has been Director of Data and Analysis at the International Rescue Committee on our Global Safety and Security team. Just yesterday, we were on the Fast Company's top 10 list of innovative nonprofits. And thank you. Not for my work, but I'll take the credit. We made the list for this really interesting AI work we were doing in Nigeria. So it was using flood predictions. AI's flood mapping model determined where would be the areas that were most likely to be dramatically affected by flooding. We know that in disaster response, it's more effective to prepare and plan rather than respond. So just this morning, actually, I was on a call with colleagues in Yemen who are explaining in terms of cost, let alone the impact on people's lives and livelihoods and their psychosocial, and regardless of that, just talking about numbers, the cost of doing this minimum infrastructure improvement so that people would avoid negative impacts of flooding was something around $50,000. The cost and they didn't do it. They couldn't find the money. The cost to not doing that was something around $250,000 in building back, let alone, as I mentioned, the cost of the human suffering. So we know that planning ahead is better than responding. And for this particular project, we identified areas that would be hard hit, gave beneficiaries cash to deal with the necessary preparations ahead of the flooding. They were able to do that, and the outcomes were much better. So this kind of anticipatory action cash assistance does use a lot of AI to run that kind of work, and we know that it's been super effective. So that's one example where IRC is ahead of the game, where we're doing really innovative work. At the same time, in our day-to-day operations, we have people who are scared to use it. We have really strict, it's a huge organization. It's like 20,000 staff. We have really strict AI policies. We're not given guidelines to say, here's what information you can put into a model. Here's what is considered PII. There's no guidelines about how to use it responsibly. It's a yes, no, because they can't take the risk of having people use it the wrong way. So within my team, and the team ranges in age, the team ages in native tongue, the team ranges in basic digital literacy. So within my team, a lot of people are just simply scared to use it. They're saying, we're not really allowed. I'm not going there. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to do the wrong thing. They don't want to put our clients' data at risk. So there is a big fear. So it's sort of both. Within an organization like the IRC that's so big, you're seeing really both sides of it.
It's kind of analogous to I was with IBM for 30 years and had a big hand in building their smart cities practice originally.
Oh, cool.
And their part of their premise was where you can link this system to that system and achieve all these kind of benefits. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, surely that's just accumulating risk. If that thing comes up with the wrong kind of conclusions, and is there some calculus that says that at some point you don't use smart city technology, or you don't connect two systems, even though you could, because of the risk that you're actually accumulating? And I think people haven't figured that out yet with AI. I don't think they fully figured out the ability for it both to help on the one hand and indeed accumulate risk on the other. And I think people need to, that needs a great deal more thought and more exploration. It's starting to get it. People are starting to apply that, and it's not an argument for not using AI, but it is an argument for being extremely careful and extremely stepwise about how you do it.
Duncan, I know you've been down a particular rabbit hole right now over the past few months with AI. Like, any thoughts or insights you want to share?
Yeah, completely lost. I've just come up for this, and then I'm going back down again. I think it's fascinating. NGOs, the association of NGOs and risk is like super, super interesting. And perception of risk, I guess. And is probably why I think, generally, if we talk about NGOs as across all NGOs, generally, they're later to adopt technology, right? Much later because of risk, because of generally it's easier to kind of see what someone else has done. Okay, someone else has done with it, it's proven. Okay, then we can reutilize that. It does scare me, Hannah, what you were talking about in terms of like a yes/no kind of approach, and just whether organizations would be willing, because these are obviously very big organizations with lots and lots of people involved, whether they're looking, because the way to kind of test this in smaller areas is to take smaller teams, right? So, take a smaller team, give them a bit more remit, a bit more freedom, give them guidelines in terms of what to do, maybe give them some, maybe they develop the guidelines and understand what's possible. Do you see that happening at all have you seen that happen at all? I know that's happened over time in NGOs. They have innovation departments and stuff like that, but keen to understand that.
Yeah, it's a good point about innovation departments. So we have We have an AI community of practice where people discuss the latest and greatest and think about all the amazing use cases that would be super helpful for the work that we do. At the same time, within the community of practice, there are IT experts and legal experts who are typically saying, it's a great idea, and here's why it can't work. Here's why it can't work. Separate from that, we have an entire innovation department. They have a lot more ability to try new things. One of the reasons, and it's a completely justified reason for us, as in the nonprofit sector, being a little bit slow with adopting new technology, is that it's not exactly our money to play around with. So if we have a way of doing something and it's tried and true and we know that we're going to get a result, it's possibly fiscally irresponsible to not do that and to try something different. And it's not our money to waste. We've been given money by donors to deliver aid in Yemen. If we then decide to say, well, we're going to do it a slightly different way, and with any experimentation, there's a chance of failure, we don't really have the luxury of failing. Within an innovation lab or an innovative department, that is built into the cost. They know that it might not work.
Right.
Yeah, that is totally fair. It just does, I guess I can just see the impact this is going to have. It does feel like I was kind of, my first role in the workspace, I kind of joined the workspace around 2000 as a web developer, so kind of like the start of kind of web technologies. Started the company in 2009, I think, as mobile was taking off, and the bit that it's an area that I'm passionate about. Well, technology I'm passionate about, and using that technology for impact I'm passionate about. I just it worries me that there's such opportunities here, and it will just be you'll get to them, but it will be quite down the line, and maybe that doesn't matter, but it is something that I think about a lot.
I think the parallel is, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when computers first started being used for all sorts of things. And to begin with, you had exactly the same phenomenon there. People didn't know what they were, didn't know how to trust them, didn't know how to use them, and eventually familiarity, and so on and so forth. I remember when I was a consultant, we were doing a bit of work for a local government in the UK. I was talking to one of the councillors, and this would have been about 1985. And he said, I think these computers are here to stay, don't you? I still remember that, and it's just kind of getting the basic familiarity with it and the basic ease and facility with it. But the other real barrier to me is explicability. One of the things that I talked about, and there's a particular issue that's upcoming right now because people are starting to talk about so-called agentic AI. So you've got generative AI generates content, agentic AI generates processes and actions and actuates machinery and all of that kind of thing. And if you're trying to do that without explicability, you have got a big problem, because you have you've got some gigantic flood pump starts up or something like that. And you've got absolutely no way to know it was about to start up or why it started up or where it's sending the water and so on and so forth. It's recommending that you send 35 trucks full of supplies to this location in preparation for a disaster. It turns out that the disaster's elsewhere. You've got a big problem. So that's why the explicability piece of it, so that a human can actually look at what the AI is saying and go, that's okay, I agree with that, or actually I don't agree with that. That to me is, apart from the basic familiarity and ease with the technology, the explicability issue is the big one to overcome.
And for anyone at home listening right now, that the white paper does cover all of the different terms that are being used here. And I have to admit, when I got into this space and, the team were looking at this AI chapter, it did feel very overwhelming to start, but I think the more time you spend in this and when you start to get up to speed with the terminology, it does become easier, is what I would say. So if there are terms we're using today, I promise you it will be covered. Well, it is covered in the white paper. I know, I've read it many times. So Peter, of the case studies that we detail in the white paper, and I know you're biased here because obviously you work with you've already mentioned one, but is there a particular one that would be your favorite? I'm not going to let you use the one that, that you...
No. There are several that are looking at flood risk and the impacts of flood risk. And they seem to me to be doing it in a particularly imaginative and thoughtful way. So I would pick those out as the ones that I particularly. We don't have a situational awareness case study in the white paper. I would have loved to have gotten one, but in the absence of that, the risk analysis stuff seems to me to be a pretty fertile ground for it to work on. Partly because the AI techniques that you can use to do risk analysis don't require large language models and generative AI. They require much simpler, older machine learning kind of techniques, which are better understood and better trusted, I guess. So I think those are probably the ones that I would pick out.
Fair. Hannah, so obviously you're coming at it I guess the point of view at the moment has been coming at it from a not-for-profit perspective right now, but you've got some journalist background as well, but are you how do I word this? How do I word this right?
Let's hear it. Have at it.
Would you, knowing what you know now about AI and it's here to stay, right? It's coming. Would you spend more time, I don't know, being more of an advocate in like the not-for-profit space, trying to get them and actively encourage them to do more? Or because we understand the risk, and obviously we've just spoken about donor dollars and like some of the ethics behind that, but would you be encouraging more adoption?
Yeah, I'm all in. It's here to stay, and I'm all in. I mean, I'm not all in. There are the risks that Peter has outlined, and there's very real world impacts to any of those risks actually transpiring. But I think the important thing, at least in the nonprofit world, particularly when you're looking at how we deal with disasters in North America and Europe, is quite different from elsewhere. That's one piece that's a bit tricky. So, or not tricky, but you have to keep in mind. So I think it's important for us to engage with this new technology and new tools and have a little asterisk whenever we do so. For now, it's with a human, it's human-centered. There's an actual human there working with the tools. So maybe you can think of it like an autonomous vehicle. I just moved from the Bay Area where it's easy to hail a taxi and you could get a driverless car. Personally, I think about it differently than Peter, who mentioned he wouldn't drive an airplane that didn't have a pilot. I 100% would get in a car without a driver.
Oh, I would too. No,
you would too. Okay.
I have used
Okay, it's just airplanes. That's fair. That's a fair distinction.
I'm not getting on the airplane either.
But it is interesting.
On the airplane.
But surely there's more risk in a car than there is in an airplane.
Oh, hey,
we're talking about AI airplanes.
I've never said it was rational.
Yeah, that's the important thing I think about risk in general, is that it's not always rational. At the end of the day, if it's an AI machine, it is probably more rational than a human. People who say, like, okay, I surf. People are like, oh, I would never go surfing because I'm scared of the sharks. The reality is I'm more likely to get into a car accident on the way to the beach, whether I'm driving or AI is driving, or whether, it's a Tesla with you're sitting there, but you're not actually driving. That is much riskier than getting in the actual water. So I think people are notoriously bad at doing risk assessments, and we can't discount that. We can't just push technology and say, it's good, it's great, just trust it. we have to understand that people don't want to trust it. So we have to build that trust.
Sure.
I guess my question is, though, is how do you build that trust? Like, how?
Yeah.
I have an answer.
So do I, but you go first.
Okay. Well, my answer is more in terms of dealing with communities outside of North America and Europe, and has a lot to do with the imposing new technology on people who haven't come to it naturally or haven't organically come to it. So in the case of some of the case studies in the paper, but other examples, it's a model that's been built elsewhere, and you're told in this new place, I'll just say Nigeria because I talked about it earlier, and you're all of a sudden using it. You didn't design it together. So I think co-design is a big part of this, making sure that the people who will be the beneficiaries of the technology or the end user of it have a say in how it's built. They understand what it is. Most importantly, it's done in their language. It's done in technology that makes sense to them. That's sort of an answer. Peter, let's hear your answer.
And that engagement of the people that are going to be affected by it is part of a thing that I would like to see, which is, and I think our stag is trying to work towards this, is kind of a protocol for developing and deploying AI in disaster risk reduction. What are the steps that you're going to go through to secure the engagement of the people affected? What are the steps you're going to go through to ensure privacy? What are the steps you're going to go through to check that the thing is working intended? How are you going to test it? And so on. If there was that protocol there, and I could easily see that protocol becoming sort of an IEEE standard or something like that, I suspect that could be written in such a way as to eliminate a lot of the problems that we've been talking about, if people follow it.
That's the big thing, isn't it? If they do follow it.
Yeah, but first of all, you've got to set it out. If it ain't there, they ain't going to folloe it. But you've got to set it out. And if that protocol is available to people to use and encapsulates what companies like Three-Sided Cube have found to be good practice and bad practice, and so forth, and what other people have found to be good practice and bad practice, then it seems to me that if you can make that available on a wide basis, that would be a big step forward.
Fair. Right, we have had a question in the chat from one of the attendees. So Vivek has asked, what is the role of AI in disaster preparedness/readiness, not just in disaster response?
Well, if you look at some of the case studies, just going through now, application of machine learning for the preparation of mass movement susceptibility maps. In other words, how many people can you get down this evacuation route? What's the evacuation route likely to be? You don't want to be doing that at the time of the disaster. You want to be doing that well before, right? So, there's an example. The seasonal forecasting example I mentioned earlier is another example. Looking at vegetation patterns for wildfire risk, that's a further example. So the whole simulation, building on that, I should say, the whole simulation and modeling kind of area in terms of, okay, so if this disaster takes place, what is likely to happen and how are people likely to respond to it, and how do we therefore need to respond to that? I think that's an incredibly fruitful area. Awesome. Not least because, going back to what I was saying earlier, it allows people time to step back and look at the results and digest them from their own point of view, and go, you know what, that is a really good idea. We will include that in our preparations, or you know what, that's a lousy idea. We will not include that in our preparations.
There's definitely a lot around just taking large amounts of data and being able to analyze and do something with that pretty quickly.
I'm sorry to ramble on. I have a dream application of AI. I was, when I was with IBM, but also working with Arise, was the lead author of the UN's City Disaster Risk Reduction Scorecard that's got about 120 questions about how ready a city is. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody wrote an AI app to actually take the results of a city's completion of the scorecard and figure out their best response strategies going forward? I would love to see that happen. I really would. So, that's just one example. Another example to Vivek's question.
There's a goal right there, Peter. I feel like we should make that happen.
Sure.
Yeah, challenge accepted. Let's do it.
We have received another question. So this one's from Nathaniel. Can you talk about the implications of DeepSeek compared to much more costly /compute/energy intensive AI, and how that translates to the disaster field? And I'm going to be looking to you panelists if because I can't answer.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in there. DeepSeek's had a major impact in the AI field, really, really huge. I think it was the moment that everybody kind of in the area realized these models are being commoditized, which is great news, because I think at one point in time, a lot of us thought that OpenAI would be the big company dominating everything, having robots, all of that kind of world that we were heading to. What DeepSeek showed, and DeepSeek was built on Facebook's Llama kind of open source model, is actually other players can enter the market. And we now have, 5 or 6, most of them being US based or Chinese. It does seem to be a race between those two at the moment. But the good news about it is it means tons of competition, and it means prices will stay low. And I think they will stay. What they'll all be doing over the next 3 or 4 years is doing a land grab. And while these companies do a land grab, they make these kind of products a lot cheaper. If we all remember using Uber seems so cheap. Airbnb, it was like, oh my God, this is now you have an Airbnb, it's like 3 times the cost of a hotel. So I think it's had a real huge impact. And what it's also showed is actually what's going to happen now is it's all about what you build. So what do you build on these models? The tools that are out there now, you can change the underlying model like you used to change a TV channel. So it shows you how easy and how quick you can move across those kind of models. So I don't think they meant to have the impact they had, but it has been significant, and it will keep prices low, which is great.
I think one other important. Sorry. Go ahead.
The only thing to add is obviously using DeepSeek as a model is something that you need to obviously think about quite a lot. And any of the models you use, you need to think about a lot. But I think it's more the impact it's had on the market. Sorry, Hannah.
I was just going to add to that, in addition to the impact on the market, it's the impact on the energy consumption. So it's sort of ironic, given we're talking about disaster risk reduction, and given many of the disasters we're seeing are man-made due to climate change and our overconsumption of various things like energy. So if we're able to find a solution that uses less energy, then that is definitely a huge win for using this.
Yeah, first avoid making the problem worse. Exactly.
Yeah.
We have another question. So, how should someone start using AI in rescue or disaster preparedness? Should they use existing AI tools or build a custom solution? And can you share any examples of clients who have successfully integrated AI into their disaster preparedness process? Any takers?
Yeah, I'll start if you like.
Peter.
And this is the same as with any bit of software, right? Do you buy off the shelf or do you create it yourself? If you can find something off the shelf that is going to meet your needs, then you might as well go with that, because it's cheaper and easier in the long run. And arguably, depending on the capabilities of your own internal development team, it might be more likely to work as well. But equally, if you can't find something that meets your needs, you're in the custom development space. I would submit that most needs that I've seen in 30 some years working for IBM, most customer needs are not as different as all that, especially within the same industry sector or something like that. They've all got some flavor of roughly the same thing. Occasionally you come across something that does need to be completely custom, but not necessarily. So, you know, my presumption would be, if you can find something that works off the shelf, begin with that. But again, test it, check it, have a really clear idea of your requirements, and all the usual stuff. And this is not new advice. People have been saying exactly the same thing about IT for the last years.
Don't create something new for the sake of it. Like, it's quite often not needed, especially these days. There's always something that exists, whether or not it does exactly what you want, or whether or not you have to like tinker and tailor with it. Like,
oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, I do a lot of work with water systems, and I was judging the Imagine H2O competition the other day, and I was looking through this and thinking, Jesus, if I see another AI-powered leak detection solution, I think I'm going to freaking scream. There are hundreds of the bloody things out there, and they're virtually indistinguishable from each other too. You know, it's back in the original sort of .com days. I mean, how many online pet stores does the world actually need? It's the same. It's starting to get the same with some AI applications as well.
One more thing to add to that question, I think, is really thinking about what problem you're trying to solve. I think a lot of times people see new technology and they think, oh, that's shiny and fancy and I want to play with that. But really, you need to start with, what problem am I trying to solve? Okay, what technology? And then, as Peter said, what exists? It doesn't exist. Okay, how do I build it? Rather than, how do I use AI? Think, what problem am I trying to solve?
And the other part of the question was asking for examples. One that I come up with, which is starting to get quite a lot of traction now, is electricity companies and their prediction of wildfire risk. Because basically they can't go on burning down California without going broke. Quite apart from the fact that California starts to hate them with a passion. I speak as a Californian these days, and that's a growing area. You know, the prediction of wildfire risk and the driving of how you respond to that, and that's both in the moment, i.e. turn off this segment of line right now because we're expecting a 60-mile-an-hour wind, and over the coming year we need to attend to the vegetation here and here. So it's both.
I think just jumping in and adding to that, I would definitely agree. Start with what is off the shelf, play with those, because there is a little bit. So one of these things with technology is kind of, like Hannah said, start with the problem, right? And then how do you solve it? But there is a lot of experimentation where you're just working out, well, what does this actually do? What, you know, because it's difficult to start with the problem and then go, okay, we can use this, unless you understand it. So there's quite a lot to be done in terms of just experimenting and seeing how something goes, and then adding something to it, and then changing it. And I think to do that, you would start with the off-the-shelf stuff. I think with this, the most likely next step you will go down is actually, you can take them, it's all about data, right? And who has access to the data and how do you expose that data? The next step is really to take a model and run it on your own infrastructure, which is easier than you think. And there are open source models that you can use, and you essentially just disconnect what you were doing with this bigger, you know, whether using OpenAI or any other of the systems that you then use locally, and that can give you, so it's good to start there, but then as you possibly see the usage case, you might then want to take it more offline. So you put your data in, you know your data is safe in that space.
Amazing. We do have another question, but it's kind of related, kind of not. But Peter, you mentioned the scorecard earlier. Vivek asked, how many cities have completed the disaster readiness scorecard?
So it's open source. So the honest answer to that is we don't exactly know. But we know that it is well over 400.
Amazing. And how long has it been running, Peter, the scorecard?
Well, the first version of it came out in 2015, I think, if I remember. It's been updated a couple of times, and it's been translated into, I think, 16 languages, including, and I'm especially proud of this, it's translated into Mongolian. Yeah, how about that? I think that's cool. But I mean, obviously, it's translated into all the global languages as well. Spanish and French and so on and so forth, Chinese. But it's as far as we can tell, well over 400. Just to be clear, there are two versions of it. There's a short form and a long form, and some of those 400 completions, and a good number of them will be the short form. But on the other side of that, there are also a bunch of annexes or appendices to the scorecard that people have developed, one for public health, one for dealing with population displacement, one for cultural artifacts, one for persons with disabilities, one for food supplies. So they will have been completed separately as well. So the honest answer is we don't know, but it's well and truly in the hundreds.
Thank you, Peter. Right, so we have a few minutes left. I'm going to ask each one of you, for those listening here today and those watching this recording, what one piece of advice would you give someone that is in the DRR space that knows they want to do more work or investigate AI in more detail or action something? What one piece of advice would you give them today? And I'm going to start with you, Peter, because I feel like I'm being really tough today on you.
What one piece of advice?
Yeah.
Retain a sense of humor. No. No. I think keep your eye on the prize, but maintain a healthy skepticism.
Okay.
The prize is there to be had, no question, but maintain a healthy skepticism.
Hannah, what about you?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to just try. Just try different things, see what happens. There's no shame in failing. You always learn something when you try something and it doesn't work.
Try to find a safe sandbox. Yeah, try to find a safe way to try stuff.
Exactly. Be respectful of people's data, of course. But just give it a try.
And Duncan, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to feel behind in this space. No one's really an expert in this space. We're all learning. This is all completely brand new to us. And I think you're probably not as far behind as you think. So I would just definitely recommend, however you consume information, however you learn, crack a bit of your day spending on learning the concepts. It will help a lot and you'll feel a lot more comfortable, I think. And I'd echo what everyone else has said in terms of experimentation.
Brilliant, thank you. And to be clear, it doesn't matter if you consume long form or short form.
It does. It's got to be long form.
Right, on that note, I have just pulled up a slide that has a QR code that links to the white paper that we've been referring to throughout today's webinar. Every single one of you that have attended today and that have signed up will be receiving an email from us very, very shortly that will contain the white paper, okay? It is a beefy white paper. It's a good old 80 odd pages long, but all the references are there. And should you have any questions or queries, we can hook you up with the authors. So you can reach out to us at holler@threesidedcube.com or puff@threesidedcube.com, and we will get back to you ASAP. I want to give a special thank you to Peter, Hannah, and Duncan for joining us here today for this really insightful discussion that we've been having. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you to every single one of you that have joined from home today or from the office, wherever you might be, from a beach maybe, I don't know, for those that work remote. Thank you very much. And please do take some time, read that white paper and come back to us with any questions. Or if you are aware of any other case studies in this space, don't hesitate to flag. So do reach out and we can always share them with the Arise network and obviously the RSTAG, the working group. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.